Kiev regime, supported by the USA, and carried out a heinous attack against civilians in the Russian city of Sevastopol in Crimea. Ukraine launched 5 US-supplied ATACMS missiles armed with cluster munitions. All flight missions were introduced by the US experts based on the US satellite intelligence. An American Global Hawk UAV was patrolling the airspace over the Crimean Peninsula. The beach area packed with peaceful citizens enjoying their weekend and Orthodox holiday was hit. Fire came from the sky on unprotected people who had nowhere to hide. Sand turned into blood. The video footage from the scene is just shocking. 151 persons were injured, among them 27 children. 4 people died, including 2 children. They will never have a chance to enjoy a summer day again. The investigative committee of the Russian Federation has started to investigate this heinous crime. All responsible for this and other terrorist attacks will be held accountable. The fact that the US is directly involved in this crime is beyond any doubt. Washington and its allies foster a neo-Nazi regime in Kiev and encourage their puppets in Kiev to commit terrorist acts against civilians. Recently, the NATO countries gave the Kiev regime a green light to conduct strikes deep into the Russian territory.
Representatives of NATO countries, especially in Europe, especially in small countries, they should be aware of what they are playing with before talking about striking Russian territory. In general, this constant escalation can lead to serious consequences.
Constant escalation can lead to serious consequences. You know his mind, you know his history. Does he bluff?
No, he's not bluffing. I think the key point here that most people in the West don't understand is that from the Russian point of view, what is happening in Ukraine represents an existential threat. This is like having a war in
threat to whom, John?
To Russia.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, please.
It's an existential threat to Russia. This is what Bill Burns said in his famous memo. And Bill Burns was saying, if you bring Ukraine into NATO, you should understand that that is an existential threat to Russian leaders. Well, we are well beyond simply bringing Ukraine into NATO. We are fighting a war in Ukraine, right on Russia's borders. And now we're talking about taking Western weapons and attacking Mother Russia. Just think about what we're doing here. And the Russians view this, unsurprisingly, as an existential threat. So if we begin to have an effect with those attacks on the Russian homeland, you can rest assured that they're going to retaliate. And when they start to retaliate, it could involve attacking targets in Poland. It could involve attacking targets in the Baltic Sea. There are all sorts of ways that this can escalate. And just take the case of them retaliating inside of Poland. If they do that, what are we going to do? This is a case of the Russians hitting a member of NATO. Are we going to then get involved in the war?